My name is Nora Larson, and for most of my life, I've been the one my family calls when they need a problem solved, a table set, or a mess cleaned up. I'm 32, a graphic designer living in a cozy Seattle apartment, far enough from my parents' suburban home in Bellevue to feel independent, but close enough for them to pull me back into their orbit whenever they need, dependable Nora. That's what they call me, though never to my face. It's in the way they assume I'll drop everything to help, like I don't have a life of my own. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when my phone rang, the screen lighting up with Mom. I hesitated, knowing what was coming. Diane Larson doesn't call just to chat. I answered anyway, pressing the phone to my ear as I stirred my coffee, the Seattle drizzle tapping against my window. Nora, you'll come early tomorrow to set up for Claire's dinner, right? My mom's voice was all business, like she was checking off a to-do list. I froze, my spoon clinking against the mug. Claire, my older sister, had just made partner at her law firm. A big deal, apparently, worthy of a fancy dinner with her colleagues and friends. I hadn't heard a word about it until now. Dinner? I asked, my voice catching. What's happening tomorrow? Oh, the party for Claire's promotion, she said, as if I should have been keeping track of Claire's endless victories. It's at the house, 7 o'clock. We need the table set, the appetizers plated, maybe some candles lit. You're so good at that stuff, Nora. I switched the phone to my other ear, my chest tightening. Was I invited? There was a pause, then a dismissive laugh. Well, it's mostly Claire's work people, honey. You wouldn't really fit in. But we need you to help get things ready. Can you be here by 4? Her words hit like a slap, sharp and familiar. I wasn't good enough to sit at the table, but I was essential for making it look perfect. I closed my eyes, the hurt sinking in. Growing up, I was the middle kid, always organizing family barbecues or decorating for Christmas, while Claire, the golden child, soaked up the praise. I'd moved to Seattle to escape that role, to build a career designing logos and websites, to be more than the family's unsung hero. But here I was, still the one they called to fold napkins. That's fine, I said, my voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside. What do you need me to bring? Oh, just some extra napkins, she said cheerfully. We might run out. Thanks, Nora, you're a lifesaver. She hung up before I could respond, leaving me staring at my phone, the rain outside mirroring the storm in my head. I set the phone down and looked around my apartment, small, but mine, filled with sketches and plants I'd nurtured. I'd worked hard to carve out the space, to prove I was more than the girl who fixed everyone else's problems. Yet, no matter how far I moved, my family still saw me as the helper, not the guest. The frustration built, hot and heavy, until my phone buzzed with a notification, a reservation app suggesting a table for 1 at the Rusty Anchor, my favorite restaurant, tomorrow night. My finger hovered over the screen, heart racing. For once, I thought, let them handle it themselves. I tapped reserve, a mix of guilt and thrill rushing through me. This time, I was choosing me. I sank onto my couch, the reservation confirmation glowing on my phone. The Rusty Anchor, with its warm wood tables and seafood specials, was my haven, a place I'd go to sketch or unwind after long design projects. Booking it felt like a rebellion, but the guilt gnawed at me. Was I being selfish? My family needed me, didn't they? Then I thought of all the times I'd dropped everything for them, Thanksgiving dinners I'd cooked, birthday parties I'd planned, all while Claire basked in the spotlight. The memories flooded back, each one a reminder of how invisible I'd become. Growing up in our small Oregon town, I was the quiet one, always tidying up after Claire's messes or helping Mom with her elaborate holiday spreads. Claire was the star, valedictorian, law school standout, now a big-shot lawyer in Seattle. I was proud of her, but it stung that my contributions were barely noticed. I'd once spent hours designing custom invitations for Mom's 50th birthday, only for her to gush about Claire's speech at the party. When I moved to Seattle, I thought things would change. I'd built a career, won a few design awards, even started dreaming of opening my own studio. But to my family, I was still just Nora, the one who made things run smoothly. My phone buzzed again, another text from Mom. Don't forget the napkins. Claire's boss is coming, so make sure the table's perfect. No, please, no, how are you? Just another demand. I gripped the phone, my frustration boiling over. They didn't even ask if I wanted to help. They just assumed I'd show up, like always, to work behind the scenes. I thought about the years I'd spent making their lives easier, only to be left out of the moments that mattered. This dinner wasn't just about one night, it was about a lifetime of being taken for granted. I opened my laptop, staring at the confirmation email for the rusty anchor. The guilt was still there, but something stronger was growing, a spark of defiance. I wasn't just saying no to setting the table, I was saying yes to myself. For once, I'd sit at a table that was mine, not one I'd set for someone else. I silenced my phone, the decision settling like a weight lifting. Tomorrow, they'd have to figure it out without me. By Friday morning, my resolve was firm, but my nerves were frayed. My phone buzzed with another call from Mom. "Nora, just a reminder, be here by 4. "We're counting on you to make everything perfect," she said, her voice bright, oblivious to the storm inside me. I pictured her in the Bellevue house, bustling around the kitchen, assuming I'd swoop in to save the day. For a moment, I wavered. What if they really couldn't manage without me? But then I remembered her casual dismissal yesterday, "You wouldn't fit in." The words replayed, fueling my determination. "I've got it covered, Mom," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Don't worry." "Oh, good," she replied, relief clear in her voice. "You always know how to make things perfect, Nora. I don't know what we'd do without you." "Yeah," I said softly, my heart pounding. "I know." After hanging up, I didn't head to the store for napkins or start planning table settings. Instead, I opened my closet and pulled out my favorite dress, a deep green number that made me feel like I could take on the world. I did my makeup with care, brushing on mascara and a bold lip, things I rarely had time for when I was running errands for my family. As I grabbed my purse and locked my apartment door, the Seattle air felt crisp, alive with possibility. For the first time in years, I wasn't putting their needs above mine. Walking to my car, I felt a strange mix of nerves and excitement, like I was breaking some unspoken rule. My whole life, I'd been taught to put family first, to be the one who showed up, no questions asked. But tonight, I was rewriting that script. I drove to the rusty anchor, the city lights reflecting off the wet streets, my heart lighter with every mile. I wasn't just skipping their dinner, I was claiming a night for myself, and it felt like the start of something bigger. By 7:30, I was seated at a corner table at the rusty anchor, a glass of Pinot Noir in hand, the warm glow of candlelight softening the world around me. The restaurant hummed with life, couples laughing, friends clinking glasses, the scent of fresh bread and garlic shrimp filling the air. I took a sip of wine, letting the rich flavor settle on my tongue, and smiled. For once, I wasn't rushing to make someone else's night perfect. This was my night. Back at my parents' house in Bellevue, I could imagine the chaos unfolding. Mom was probably pacing the kitchen, her voice sharp as she realized I wasn't there. Dad would be trying to calm her down, saying, "She's probably just late." Claire, no doubt, would roll her eyes, assuming I'd flaked out, because in her world, I was the one who didn't quite measure up. I pictured the dining room, the table half set, the candles unlit, the appetizers still in the fridge. The thought brought a pang of guilt, but it faded quickly. They'd survive. The waiter, a kind man with a warm smile, approached. "Ready to order?" he asked. "Not yet," I said, "but I'll start with the crab cakes." He nodded and left, and I leaned back, savoring the moment. The restaurant felt like a sanctuary, a place where I could just be Nora, not the family fixer, not Claire's shadow, just me. I glanced around, noticing a family celebrating a birthday across the room, their laughter infectious. It struck me that this was the first time in years I'd treated myself to a night like this. No errands, no demands, just me and my thoughts. The freedom was intoxicating, and for the first time, I felt like I was enough. While I savored my crab cakes, the scene at my parents' house was unraveling. I could picture Mom, her face flushed, snapping, "Where's Nora?" "The guests are arriving." Dad would mumble something about traffic, but I knew Mom wouldn't buy it. She knew how important this was, she'd say, her voice shrill as she stared at the mismatched silverware and creased tablecloth. Claire, adjusting her sleek blazer, would probably smirk and say, Typical Nora, bailing when we need her. The irony would be lost on her. She'd never noticed how I'd always been there, holding things together. My phone buzzed in my purse, but I ignored it, focusing on the warm, flaky crab cake and the soft jazz playing in the background. I knew the messages piling up. Nora, where are you? The table's a mess. This is so selfish. I almost felt sorry for them, almost. But then I remembered every holiday I'd spent in the kitchen while Claire schmoozed with guests, every time Mom praised her achievements while my efforts went unnoticed. This wasn't just about tonight, it was about years of being invisible. Later, as I sipped my second glass of wine, my phone buzzed again. This time, I glanced at it, a text from Dad. We're sorry, Nora. We shouldn't have assumed you'd handle everything. Can we talk later? I read it twice, my heart caught between satisfaction and surprise. Dad wasn't one for apologies, especially not over text. It felt like the first crack in their armor, a hint they were starting to see what they'd taken for granted. I set the phone down, not ready to respond. Tonight wasn't about fixing their mess, it was about reclaiming mine. As the waiter brought my main course, a perfectly seared salmon with lemon herb sauce, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. The rusty anchor's warm lights and soft chatter wrapped around me like a hug, drowning out the noise of my family's expectations. Each bite was a reminder that I'd chosen myself tonight, and it felt like a victory. I thought about the chaos back in Bellevue, but instead of guilt, I felt a quiet thrill. Let them scramble, I thought, savoring the salmon's buttery flavor. They'd figure it out. My phone kept buzzing, but I let it sit face down on the table. I didn't need to see the messages to know what they said, demands, accusations, maybe a hint of panic. For years, I'd been the one to swoop in, smoothing over their messes, making sure every event was flawless. But tonight, I was done playing that role. I glanced around the restaurant, catching sight of a couple sharing dessert, their laughter sparking a longing in me. I wanted more nights like this, moments that were mine, not borrowed from someone else's spotlight. As dessert arrived, a creamy tiramisu dusted with cocoa, I made a mental note to start dreaming bigger. Maybe I'd travel, see the cliffs of Santorini or the markets of Marrakesh. Maybe I'd finally pitch that design studio I'd been sketching ideas for. The possibilities felt endless, and for the first time, I believed I could chase them. I took a slow bite of tiramisu, the espresso-soaked layers melting in my mouth. This was freedom, deciding what I wanted, without anyone else's expectations weighing me down. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through my apartment's curtains, a rare Seattle glow that matched the calm inside me. No frantic texts or voicemails greeted me, a small victory. I brewed coffee, the rich aroma filling the air, and sat by the window, watching the city wake up. For once, I wasn't bracing for a list of chores or demands. It felt like breathing for the first time in years. My phone buzzed mid-morning, and I saw Dad on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. Hey, Nora, he said, his voice softer than usual. Got a minute? Sure, I replied, keeping my tone even, though my heart raced. I owe you an apology, he began, and I nearly dropped my mug. Dad wasn't big on apologies. Last night, we shouldn't have expected you to drop everything. It wasn't fair. I swallowed hard, caught off guard. It's okay, Dad. I've felt invisible lately, like I'm only here to fix things for everyone else. I know, he said, sighing. Your mom and I talked after the guests left. We realized how much we've leaned on you without giving you credit. You deserve better. His words hit deep, a mix of relief and emotion tightening my chest. That means a lot, I admitted. I just want to be seen for me, not just what I do. We talked a bit longer, his voice warm, almost hesitant, like he was navigating new territory. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. When we hung up, I felt lighter, like a door had cracked open to something new. A few days later, I knew I had to talk to Mom. Dad's apology was a step, but she was the one who needed to hear me most. I called her on a quiet afternoon, suggesting we meet at a cozy cafe near her house in Bellevue. She agreed, her voice brisk as always. When I arrived, she was already there, stirring her latte, her posture stiff like she was bracing for a fight. Mom, we need to talk about Friday, I said, skipping small talk. And not just Friday, everything. She raised an eyebrow, defensive. Your father said you were upset. What's this about? I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I've spent years helping with your parties, your dinners, your plans, always there, always fixing things. But you didn't even invite me to Claire's dinner. You just expected me to set the table and leave. Do you know how that feels? Her eyes widened, but I pressed on. I'm your daughter, Mom, not your assistant. I've never complained because I thought that's what family does. But I'm tired of being invisible unless you need something. She looked down at her coffee, stirring it slowly. Nora, I didn't realize. We've always counted on you because you're so good at it. I didn't mean to make you feel less. You did though, I said, my voice firm but calm. I need boundaries. I'll help when I can, but I deserve to be valued for who I am, not just what I do. She nodded, her expression softening. You're right. I'm sorry. We'll do better. It wasn't everything, but it felt like a turning point, a flicker of hope that things could change. Over the next few weeks, I noticed small changes. Mom started texting to ask how I was, not just to list tasks. Dad called to chat about my latest design project, not to ask for help. Even Claire, still wrapped up in her lawyer world, seemed to tread lighter around me. It wasn't a complete overhaul, old habits die hard, but it felt like they were starting to see me differently. One Saturday, Mom invited me to a family dinner, not to set up, but as a guest. I arrived at their Bellevue house, nerves tingling, half expecting to be handed a stack of plates. Instead, Mom greeted me with a warm hug. Everything's handled, she said with a smile. Come in, relax. The table was set, not perfectly, but well enough, and the smell of roasted chicken filled the air. I sat with Dad, laughing over a story from when I was a kid, sneaking cookies from the jar. Claire, lounging on the couch, even joined in, offering a rare, genuine smile. For once, I wasn't rushing to fix anything. I sipped wine, shared stories, and felt something new, a sense of belonging, not as the helper, but as Nora, their daughter, their sister. Later, as I helped Mom bring out dessert, not out of obligation, but because I wanted to, she gave me a look. I'm glad you're here, she said softly. Just as you are. Her words caught me off guard, warming me from the inside. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. For the first time, I felt like they saw me, not just the role I'd always played. That night, driving back to my Seattle apartment, the cool air felt like a fresh start. I thought about the girl who'd walked out of that dinner party weeks ago, angry and unseen, and realized she was still here, just stronger, freer. My family wasn't perfect, and maybe they never would be, but they were trying. More importantly, I'd changed. I'd learned to say no, to choose myself, to live on my terms. A few days later, my friend Mia came over, armed with takeout and her usual spark. So, how's the boundary-setting queen, she teased, digging into fried rice. Pretty good, I laughed. I'm thinking about that trip we always talked about, maybe Italy, maybe Greece. Somewhere I can just be. Now that's the Nora I love, she said, raising her soda can in a toast. As I cleaned up the takeout boxes, I felt a deep contentment. The old Nora, the one who bent over backward for everyone else, was gone. This new version knew her worth, and she wasn't going back. A month later, Mom texted about another family gathering, making it clear I was invited as a guest. I smiled, replying, I'd love to. When I walked into their house, Mom's hug was tight, Dad's stories were warm, and even Claire seemed softer. The table wasn't flawless, but it didn't need to be. I was there, not to fix things, but to be part of them. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through hurt, rebellion, and a hard-won victory. If my story hit home, hit that subscribe button and join us, where every moment is a chance to claim your worth, set your boundaries, and build a life that's yours. Keep chasing your own freedom, and I'll meet you at the table.